Hello, my people. Good day to you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whatever time zone you're listening to this, thank you for your attention. It's not taken for granted. I appreciate you. My name is Michael Ojola from Mindset Transformation Africa. And on today's episode of Daily Mind Shift, I want to anchor today on this particular statement, on truth. I want to discuss truth, all right? So I will anchor today's statement on today's episode on this statement. Knowing that something is true doesn't mean you know the truth. Knowing that something is true doesn't mean you know the truth. Let me repeat that so that you think about it. Knowing that something is true doesn't mean you know the truth. The scripture says rightly dividing the word of truth. That means there is a way that you divide the words and the word and truth that is correct, that is right, and there is a wrong way for you to for people to discern and divide and analyze the words of truth, of what you think is true. So you don't have, because you think something is true doesn't mean you know the truth. Because you think something is true doesn't mean you know the truth. Knowing that something is really true doesn't mean that you know the truth about a particular situation. So the reason why I'm putting this out there today is for you to consider where you stand. Many of us we've made permanent decisions on temporary situations that now, if on the hindsight, looking back, you are regretting it, but you are too proud. Your ego is driving you. You are too proud to even concede to say, man, I messed up. I jumped into conclusion without even any evidence. Because the conclusion I jumped to confirmed my bias, because the conclusion I jumped to is what I wanted, I messed a potentially good relationship up because I jumped into conclusion. So it's important for you to know that knowing that something is true doesn't mean you know the truth. It's important for us as individuals, for us as humans that we claim to be intelligent and cerebral, to know that we need to recognize that knowledge and understanding are not always absolute. They are not always absolute. What you think you know, if somebody else brings another perspective to it, if they tell you that, I was also part of this particular story, this is what I see that day that happened, will you change your position? So it's important for you to know first that knowledge and understanding are not absolute. All right? You cannot say, now I know, and what I know is final. Nah. Just because something is true doesn't necessarily mean that you know the entire truth or have the complete understanding of the situation. Just because only something is true about a situation doesn't mean you know the truth about the situation. Just because something is true about a situation doesn't mean you know the truth about the situation. Do you understand? So it's key for you to have an open mind. The bottom line to this particular episode is to encourage you to have an open mind, to always question your position. Always question the position that you've taken right now. Always question them. Always be open to new evidence. It is important to be open to new perspectives. Be open to new information. And you after being open, it's one thing for you to be open to new information. It's another thing for you to be willing to revise your understanding based on the new insight, or based on the new perspective, or based on the new evidence that just came. So many people are open to new information. They will receive the new information, but it won't change their position. You know why? Because they are comfortable in their lies, in quote. Or let me not say lies. Let me say half truth. They are comfortable in their version of truth. That's why they will not change their position. So it's not only important for you to be open to new perspectives, it's also important for you to be willing. That is where growth happens. When you are willing to revise your understanding, when you are willing to revise your knowledge based on new evidence, based on new insight that just happened right now, when you are willing to move from your initial position based on the new evidence, then you will see growth. Then you will say, I am personally developed. Then you will say, I am developing. It is important to be aware of our limitations. And that is where humility comes into play. When you are not humble, you will not believe that you have limitations of understanding. You will always think you know. When you are not humble, you will always think your position is final. You will always tell people you don't understand. I know this person or that person more than you think. You don't understand. Sometimes I get irritated when I'm discussing with someone and the person says you don't understand and they don't even know how to explain themselves. I get irritated. You don't know how to even explain yourself. You cannot say somebody else don't understand. Yes, they might not fully understand your position, but if you also understand your position, you should be able to explain your position. But before you know it, you or yourself cannot even explain your position. Now you are accusing somebody else that they don't understand your position. It's just myopic in my opinion. It's just naive at best, all right? So it is important for you to be aware of your limitations, especially concerning knowledge. You need to be aware of the limitations of your knowledge. You need to know that your knowledge is not absolute. You need to know that your understanding have limitation and to recognize that there may be multiple viewpoints, perspectives, and information or interpretations of any given situation. There are perspectives. When you see an elephant through its tail, you say this elephant is a snake. When you see the elephant through its trunk, you say this one looks like, or through his leg, you say it looks like a tree. Through his body, you say it's just a wall. Do you understand? Perspective. Sometimes a 6 is a 9. Sometimes a 9 is a 6. So it's important for you to be open to hearing and considering different perspectives rather than assuming that you have a complete understanding of the truth. The assumption that you know what you are doing, the assumption that you know and understand the absolute truth, the assumption that your knowledge is infinite, that your knowledge is final, is a detriment to your personal growth, is a detriment to your personal development. It's very important for you to know that there are different perspectives, all right? There are different perspectives to truth, to understanding truth. You need to be curious. That's the hallmark of great people. They are curious. They are eager to learn. That shows you are humble. That shows you know your limitation. You are eager. You want to learn more. It's important for you to be curious and willing to seek out new information. Go all out and seek out new perspective yourself. When you hear somebody tell you something, question the motive behind the bearer of the news. What is the intention? Why is he or she telling me this? Why is he or she telling me that? What do they stand to gain if I react this way or that way? That means you are thinking for yourself. That means you are considering all perspective. That means you are not easily swayed by gossips. That means you are cerebral. That means you are in control of your life. Do you understand? So it's important for you to be curious. It's important for you to be willing to seek out new information and perspective. It's important for you not to be overtly confident in your own current understanding. Don't just be so adamant. That's one thing that religion does to people. They become so adamant, overtly confident in their current understanding. Overconfidence in your current understanding will not lead you to growth. You might be wrong. You might be confidently wrong. So it's important for you to always question your position. It will help you gain more complete understanding of the world around you. It will help you to gain more complete understanding and insight of the people in your life. It will help you to know more about people when you are open and curious and willing to seek out new information and perspective. Thank you. I will talk to you later.